Hello and welcome to Love Recaps. Today we're going to take a look at 2014 romance, comedy drama, Love Rosie. Buckle up, spoiler ahead and let's begin. The movie begins with Rosie Dunn, sitting alone looking dejected at a table, while waiting guests mingle around her. She's preparing in her mind what to say about her relationship between her and Alex Stewart, the man sitting directly to her. They've been best friends since they were 5 years old. This is his wedding day and she begins her speech with "This was the happiest day of her life." The next scene is Rosie crying and the movie cuts back to 12 years ago at her 18th birthday. Rosie and Alex are at a bar, celebrating her birthday, and share a drunken, passionate kiss before Rosie falls off a stool and hits her head, knocking herself out. She wakes up the next morning with no recollection of the night before. Alex comes to visit but he doesn't realize she doesn't remember their kiss. Rosie tells Alex she wishes that night had never happened and doesn't want to talk about it ever again, which he takes as a sign of her rejection. Alex then goes on and talks about Bethany, a hot girl that has been giving him the eye. Rosie and Alex later attend a bonfire on a beach, where they talk about upcoming school dances. Rosie reveals she had been asked by Greg, the fittest guy in school, but she turned him down because she and Alex had already planned to go together. Meanwhile, Alex has set his sights on a blonde named Bethany, who Rosie says might be hard to get due to the fact that Alex is still a virgin. He laughs it off, confidently telling Rosie how Bethany had wanted to go to the dance with him. Rosie suggests he take Bethany, and she takes Greg. Alex agrees, but they both seem not happy with these decisions. The day of the dance, in computer class, Alex chats with Rosie that he's no longer a virgin. Rosie asks who was that? And prays that it's not Bethany. But it was Bethany making Rosie curse and getting sent to the headmaster's room. Alex wants to take the blame and gets his message exposed in front of class. Rosie is not happy at all. That night, Alex drives Rosie to the hotel where the dance is held. Greg takes Rosie out of Alex's car, who quite hates the scene. Each couple has a great time on the dance floor, though Rosie and Alex sneak each other along in dances. Later on, Rosie and Greg head up to a room, where their night doesn't exactly go as planned when Greg's condom falls off and becomes stuck inside Rosie. After Greg ditches her, she calls Alex, who is still downstairs dancing with Bethany. The music is too loud and Alex can't quite hear her, making her scream louder in front of a stranger about the situation. He leaves Bethany to drive Rosie to the hospital where a male nurse removes the condom for her and the male nurse named Dick. When they arrive home, Alex tells Rosie that they should get out of the country and to America to attend university. Alex will learn medicine at Harvard and Rosie will learn hotel management at Boston University. The next day she tells her parents. Her mom doesn't quite agree because she thinks Rosie can't take care of herself and tells her dad to talk to her. Rosie goes to work with her dad. Her dad assures her that following her dream will be the right choice. A few months later, Rosie gets accepted into a hotel management program at Boston University. Rosie comes to Alex's house to break the news, but Alex was having it with Bethany. Rosie hears the sound, vomits and leaves. Rosie visits a drugstore to find a solution for her recent nausea and the clerk, Ruby, suggests she take a pregnancy test. After it comes back positive, she quickly realizes Greg is the dad. Rosie wants to meet Alex, but he's having dinner with Beth and her parents, so she cries alone. The next day, Alex tells Rosie he gets a scholarship into Harvard. Rosie is happy for him, but she doesn't want to tell Alex that she is pregnant and gets accepted into Boston too, worrying Alex will stay to take care of her. She just says she'll be there. On the day Alex leaves, at the airport, Rosie is worried about him, so Alex gives her a small glove. They almost share a kiss, but Rosie seems to pull back. And then Alex leaves. Rosie comes back to the drugstore to confide with Ruby. She suggests giving the baby away. Rosie thinks that's a good idea. Rosie continues to live at home with her parents. Everyday life makes her slowly have a second thought about giving the baby away. After giving birth and holding her baby for the first time, Rosie decides to keep her baby and names her Katie. One night, Rosie is really stressed out and Katie keeps crying. Her father comes in. She says she was thinking her life is doomed. Her father comforts her and tells her some memories when she's born. It helps Rosie feel better. After a few montages of being a single mom, Rosie runs into Bethany, who then snitches to Alex about the baby. Alex flies back to England to confront Rosie, who explains she didn't tell Alex because she wanted him to go to Harvard. Alex forgives her. Rosie explains that Greg moved to Ibiza as soon as he heard Rosie was pregnant and Alex asked to be Katie's godfather. Alex spends a few days with Rosie and Katie, and eventually Alex must go back to the US while Rosie stays in England. Back in Boston, Alex is drinking alone at a bar when he is approached by a guy named Phil. He introduces Alex to Sally, his sister, and asks if Alex will buy her a drink. He agrees. As the years pass, Rosie and Alex stay in touch by sending videos to each other. Sally and Alex are in a relationship and have moved in together. Rosie has become friends with Ruby, the clerk from the drugstore, and Katie is growing up. Rosie and Ruby are both maids at a local hotel, even though Rosie still dreams of opening her own hotel. Rosie also finds out that Bethany is now a famous model, which she still hates. Rosie is genuinely happy with Katie and her life. Meanwhile, Alex is not happy with his. Sally doesn't seem to get and cares about what he feels or thinks at all, calling his dreams stupid. Alex then asks Rosie to come visit him and sends her a ticket. She is excited, thinking maybe something finally happened between them. As she arrives at the airport, she and Alex share a joyful reunion. Alex takes Rosie around the city, where they spend the day exploring and flirting. When near the park, Rosie leans forward to kiss Alex. This time he pulls back, saying they should get back to his apartment. Afterwards, they head back to Alex's apartment, where Sally has been waiting for Alex to return. They have dinner with Sally's brother, and it becomes obvious that Alex and Rosie are much more alike. Sally can't drink wine and Rosie asks why, turning out she is pregnant and Alex didn't mention that. Sally is mad and about to go cleaning the dish. Rosie wants to help but accidentally knocks over a cup of water. Sally orders Alex to save her father's antique table. Alex accidentally knocks over another cup and curses. Sally lashes out in anger and pulls off the whole table, which makes Rosie really shocked. Sally acts like nothing has just happened to calm herself down and asks them to go to her friend's art show. Rosie leaves the art show early because she thinks it's nonsense. Alex then chases her. Rosie then explains that she's mad because Alex leaves his pregnant girlfriend at home and goes out with her. Alex says he and Rosie are just having fun. Rosie points out that Alex calls her here because his personal life is a mess, and he needs someone from his old life to point that out. Meanwhile, Alex thinks that Rosie's life is miserable and he is helping her. Alex then points out that his life is going really great and his baby is going to have 2 parents, which makes Rosie disappointed and leaves. Out of the win, Rosie sends her daughter's picture to Greg and he actually comes back. After begging Rosie for a chance, the 3 start living like a family and eventually get engaged. Alex is invited to their wedding, but does not show up. When Rosie was moving in with Greg, Alex called but she didn't pick up. Her daughter Katie is now really close with a boy named Toby, which makes her seem to miss Alex. So, the next scene is Rosie decides to call Alex's apartment, and Sally answers. She tells Rosie that she and Alex had broken up around the time of Rosie's wedding, but then her water breaks. Before Sally hangs up, Rosie hears her shouting to Herb, the artist from the show. Rosie then texts Alex to comfort him. She feels bad for him. Alex also reveals that the baby was not his, but Herb. Alex assures that he's fine. He isn't ready to be a dad anyway, but he actually did. Another 5 years have passed. Katie is now a teenager and is still close to her friend Toby. They annoy Rosie sometimes. One day, Rosie's parents leave for a trip around the world. Rosie is now a receptionist. When she is cleaning the floor, suddenly, Bethany, now a successful model, comes in and catches up with Rosie while checking into the hotel. After hearing Bethany is traveling to Boston soon, Rosie suggests she look up Alex. Rosie's father dies suddenly while on the vacation, leaving Rosie heartbroken. Alex returns to England for the funeral, and comforts Rosie. A pissed Greg arrives, oblivious to Rosie's pain, and pulls her away. Alex realizes he loves Rosie and knows he would treat her better than Greg does. As he flies back to England, he mails her a letter professing his love and tells her if she doesn't feel the same, he won't ever bring it up again. As it arrives at Rosie's house, Greg receives it and later hides it in the desk drawer before Rosie can see it. Rosie decides to finally start following her dreams and begins to plan how to open her own hotel. Alex messages Rosie to ask one simple thing: if she is happy with Greg. After contemplating her answer, she responds that she, Greg and Katie are family, and she is happy with her family. Greg calls Rosie from his work trip, at the hotel where they had their school dance so many years ago, to inform her he will be staying there longer than he had originally anticipated over the weekend. After Ruby checks their hotel's database, they find out he had reserved the bridal suite. Rosie and Ruby confront Greg at the hotel, where he is with another woman. After Rosie hooks him in the jaw, she returns home to begin throwing out all of Greg's possessions. She finds the letter of Alex. She immediately video chats to Alex, but Bethany answers. Alex joins her and they reveal that they are engaged and getting married the next week. They ask Rosie to be the best man, because she told Bethany to come there, and Rosie accepts, trying to hold back her tears. Rosie expresses her despair to Ruby, saying that she and Alex just might not be right for each other. Ruby talks some sense back into Rosie, and convinces her to show up early to the wedding and tell Alex how she feels before it is too late. A week later, Rosie, Ruby, Katie, and Toby prepare to fly to America for the wedding. However, their flight is delayed. When they land, Phil picks them up and they arrive at the church just as Alex and Bethany are coming out. At the reception, Rosie gives a speech as the best man recalls moments from her childhood with Alex, including the night of her 18th birthday which she can't remember. Alex now realizes that. She then thanks Alex for being an amazing friend and the best thing that has ever happened to her. She promises that no matter what, she will always love him. It hits Alex hard and Rosie's friends are nervous. After a pause, she quickly adds that she will love him like a sister loves a brother and a friend loves a friend. After the speech, guests begin to pair up to dance. Bethany and Alex, Katie and Toby, and Ruby and her newfound love, Phil. Toby leans in to kiss Katie but she shoves him off and runs out to the roof. Alex and Rosie, who had both witnessed the scene, follow her. Rosie asks her what happened. Katie said that Toby kissed her, and it's weird because it's like Alex and Rosie kiss each other. Katie says that she would ask Toby to forget about it, which makes Alex warn her that if she rejects him now Toby will go the rest of his life, trying to find someone perfect but they will never be as good as her. Alex is not just talking about Toby's feelings, he's also talking about his. Katie seems to be touched by Alex's words. At this point Toby joins them on the roof, and Katie runs to him and pecks him on the lips. They head back to the party and Rosie and Alex are left alone. Alex tells Rosie the truth about what happened the night of her 18th birthday, saying he had only just realized she didn't know that day. She realizes the only reason Alex had taken Bethany to their high school dance all those years ago was because he thought Rosie didn't feel the same. Even though it is obvious the two still love each other, nothing can be done about it. Rosie and Alex say goodbye at the airport and she, Katie, Toby, and Ruby return to England. Bethany is not happy with the way Alex looks at Rosie. There, Rosie buys a manor house and fixes it up to make it into her lodge with the help of her daughter, Toby, Ruby, and Phil. On the day of the grand opening, she hosts a party. Her mother says that her father will be proud of her. The first guest was the man in the elevator with Rosie the night the condom was stuck. And then Alex shows up out of nowhere, alone, with no bags or wife, requesting a room. Rosie takes him to receive U-Suite and Alex turns to her and asks her to the dance. Better late than never, Rosie replies, and with that, he sweeps her up in a passionate kiss. That was love, Rosie. I hope you enjoy. Remember to like and subscribe for more. Bye bye.